Hey everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. I was not expecting that this show would end up being a three-parter, but you guys have had such fantastic comments and suggestions that I couldn't help myself. It's been a lot of fun deep diving and trying to get to the root of the issue with the ICE1 turntable, which I still think is beautiful and has a lot of potential. So in today's episode, we put some of your suggestions into practice. You're not going to want to miss this. Been getting so many great ideas in the comments from you guys. Definitely appreciate it. So somebody mentioned, which probably should have been the obvious for me, is check the cartridge wiring. So I did that, and sure enough, we've got a bit of an issue. So this is what the correct wiring of an Audio-Technica phono cartridge should look like. This is looking at the back. So right top is red, top left is white, bottom right is green, bottom left is blue. But this unit is wired like this. So you may be saying, well, what's the gray for? I'll show you in a second here, but the big issue is at the top, it's reversed. And I think maybe this cartridge is out of phase, which would also explain the thin sound. So we're going to investigate. We're going to fix it. We're going to try to anyway and see if that eliminates the issues. The reason why the bottom two are grayed out is because they used a common ground wire, as you can see here. So it's hard to say, which is which exactly. But if you notice in this picture, the clips that hold these wires are reversed. So I think the bottom one is correct and the top one is just reversed. So what I'm going to try to do is just flip the top so that the red and the white are flipped. Somebody also noticed that the cartridge appears to be fully back into the head shell. So the overhang is probably incorrect as well. Whoever installed this probably didn't want to deal with aligning it properly. So we'll take care of that as well. They did include the Allen wrench. My plan is just to remove the cartridge from the head shell since you don't have a removable head shell. So now we have a little bit better access to it. So as you can see there, it's just backwards. So what we're going to do is gently remove these. I recommend actually using a little tool, like a little pliers to remove these. Sometimes if you use your fingers like mine, you can strip the wire out of the clip, and that's not good, but I'm just gonna wing it here. All right, and I'm gonna reverse it by putting this one here. That's pretty easy to swap. So now let me mount the cartridge back into the head shell. Okay, so we got the cartridge on there, this time with the proper overhang, and I'm going to set the alignment of the cartridge using the flip side of the strobe disc here. You can print these off, just like the strobe disc, you can print off on a piece of paper. That works just fine. I just happen to have this. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to align it so that it is neutral when the needle is in this position and in this position. So lined up with that grid there. And I'm going to use the left and right movement here. I usually leave these screws loose enough that you can just manipulate it by hand, and then once you've got it where you want it, again, neutral in these two positions, you just tighten it back down. So I'm going to work on that now. Okay, so that was certainly one of the problems, but I do still think we've got an issue where the back switch there, that phono on and off switch, preamp switch, is wired backwards, or something is goofy. I happen to have another turntable that's made by the same company as this, so I thought we would compare the back panels to see how they usually wire it, because it'll probably be, I'm guessing, this is just hypothetical, but I'm guessing this one will be opposite to the way the other model made by the same company is. All right, so on the top, we've got the other unit made by the same company, I believe. And while not identical, it definitely has some family resemblance. This is a great turntable, by the way. So going left to right on this one, we've got a grounding post, RCAs, preamp switch, USB, and then power. And down here, we have grounding post, RCAs, preamp switch, and USB. And then the power on this one's over here. But you can see, I think it's using some of the same internal components, which is a really interesting thing, because we know that this one is just, something is wired backwards, and it's not just, left and right. Now, if we do look at the left and right, you'll see phono is on the right, line levels on the left, but up here, line levels on the right and phono's on the left. So that's one of the issues. But I don't think that's the only issue. Let me explain. I haven't got this much use out of my crayons in a long time. Okay, so here is a very rudimentary illustration of what the preamp switch should be doing. Then I'm going to compare and contrast to what this one is doing. So there are two. This one has 3 settings because it's got that weird Bluetooth one in the middle. Just for the simplicity of this, we're going to take that out of the equation. Usually you've got 2 positions, phono level and line level. Phono level outputs between 0.2 and 0.5 millivolts with a flat EQ. It's basically straight from the cartridge to the jacks on the back. It's a bypass of everything else. And then the line output is 1K millivolt or 1 volt and RIAA curve. So that's the EQ curve that's added in. Now, complicating this, the red indicates what's happening on the ICE1. So this is outputting over here on the phono side 1K millivolt, which is what the line level is supposed to do, with a flat EQ. And over here, it's outputting 0.2 to 0.5 millivolt with an RIAA curve. So it's not as simple as they're just swapped. Like the amplification is swapped, but not the EQ. So that's what's really, really goofy right now. Before we open up these units and compare them, which I think would be interesting, I want to test it as is with the wire swap we did. I don't really anticipate that's going to fix the issue, but I want to test it. So let's get some powered speakers out and try that test again. So we're back at it again. Let's go ahead and test. Let's play devil's advocate here. Let's just see if the wiring changed or improved things. If it's out of phase, that's definitely not going to help with the thin sound and whatnot. So I've got it connected here initially with the line level output into these powered speakers. So it's a direct, supposedly, line level connection. But just connecting it right here with the turntable powered off, I'm already hearing a ground loop. So we're not up to a great start. But let's go ahead and turn the turntable on and just see what happens. And I notice a difference in that buzz depending on touching things on the turntable. So it's very quiet. So that's clearly phono level still. Let's go ahead and flip it over to what says phono, but we believe to be line. Okay, so this does change my thinking on this problem a little bit. I think that the thinness in the sound that we were previously hearing, that we were interpreting to mean the presence or lack thereof of the RIAA curve, was actually the out of phase wiring of the head shell. So now I think that it's a simple matter of a reversed wired switch or a reversed labeled switch. I'm still a little bit concerned about the buzz. It's not the first time I've heard that happen. Sometimes you'll get a buzz until the needle drops and then it goes away. But I think this is a good time for a reevaluation of the direct feed sound test. So let's hook it up and take a direct capture of it the way it is right now. We're at line level now. Let's give it a listen.
Appetizing young love for sale. Love that's fresh.
Okay, that was a major improvement, I think. There's still a little bit of a question mark around the grounding hum that we heard, the ground loop. But it's kind of hard to say. You can kind of chase these things down for days and days and days. Okay, so now, mostly just for grins, I want to take this apart and take apart the other unit and compare the wiring to see if there's an obvious difference there, if we can see how that switch differs from one to the other. Okay, so we've got them side by side now. I've put a cloth underneath so that as they rest on their dust covers, they don't get scratched up. I've removed the platters, the belts, the power supplies, obviously. Now, there is a difference, as you can see, quite a few differences between these two, even though I am 99% sure they came out of the same factory. This uses an external plastic box because this is solid MDF, highly varnished, whereas this actually has the components in the plinth. So there's an area that's channeled out of there. Because of that different construction, the screws from this are going to be removed from the bottom, whereas this actually uses Allen screws, and that'll be removed from the top. So the first thing we're going to do is remove this one. Okay, and the screws are removed, or I should say loosened. They're still in there. By the way, if you like this sort of teardown stuff, definitely check out this weekend. We're going to be working on the 47 Philco, so I invite you to join along there. We got a lot of work to do. We got to rewire some stuff and get it working. Okay, not what I was expecting. So you can really see they only punched 2 holes in this thing, one for the motor enclosure and then one for the tone arm wiring. And then everything else is still inside the plastic thing on the flip side. I got to be careful flipping this over because these screws are going to go everywhere. I just decided to lean it up like that. Interesting that the varnish extends all the way under there. So this is even more simplistic than I thought. There's really nothing to this. In fact, the switch itself is a off-the-shelf part. It's this little rectangular box right there. That's actually a shield. It's a hollow box. The ends are open. But the wiring, if it is done per unit, is extremely, inaccessible. So I'm going to stop here on this one. There's not really going to be anything to see unless the other unit is wired or the switch is done completely different. And even the switch type is different because this is a 2-position switch. That one's a 3-position switch. But purely for the sake of it's interesting, let's go ahead and open the other one up too. Okay, so I've got almost all of these screws out. Let's see what we see. Oh, it's just a panel. Oh, that's nice. I thought it was like a single unit. Well, kind of is, but this is the lid to it. Very nice. And yeah, look, those are off-the-shelf components as well. I think it's just, what did they do? Look how, that's pretty much the same idea. It's just like a little hollow box. And then this is the preamp switch and this is the speed switch. They're almost the same switch, just employed for different purposes. But this circuit board, as you can see here, is different. This is the ICE1 and this is the other unit. So similar layout for sure, but not the exact same component like I thought it would be. Okay, so it's back together now. I think we've kind of taken this as far as I want to take it. Hopefully you're satisfied as well. We've really become quite familiar with the ICE1. Very beautiful turntable. I think that the way it is now, once all we did was switch the wiring. That was the only change that we made per se today. But I think that was probably the heart of our issue. So it's sounding good now, as you could hear. I think that this is fine. But, obviously a consumer should not be expected to do something like that. Not that it's hard necessarily, especially somebody like you or me that's, into this stuff. But the average Joe Blow consumer shouldn't be expected to rewire their cartridge in order to get it to sound normal. So, yeah, that's sort of an interesting thing. I wonder how many of these are wired that way, which has sort of led people on a wild goose chase to that phono switch, thinking that that was the cause, even though it is backwards from what we're used to. All right, my friends, and that is going to do it. It's been fun. We got a lot of enjoyment out of this turntable and learned a lot, and at least I did. I hope you did as well. And it's been a learning experience. It's been a lot of fun. As Marty McFly said once, it's been educational. So mostly I just want to say thank you for being there, for your continual support. Again, if you are interested in like teardown stuff, rewiring, nuts and bolts kind of stuff, I plan on working on the Bing Crosby 47 Philco this weekend. So stay tuned for that. I'm not sure when those shows will be posted, if I will be able to post this weekend or just film this weekend. I'll do my best to get something up in that regard before the weekend is out. Plus, we've got other reviews and things coming your way. Turntables are starting to stack up again that need a review. Just a lot going on here at Record-ology, and it wouldn't be worth anything if it wasn't for you. So thank you for being there, as always. Happy record hunting, and we'll see you next time.